Hi folks, it's Mike Murphy. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create your own handmade stop motion paper fold transition in Adobe After Effects CC 2025. So here's what we're going to be creating. So first, I made a stop motion video using the Stop Motion Studio Pro app on my iPad. And I also use a remote controlled trigger so I can take photos without shaking the iPad. I use this blue tack adhesive to make sure that the background and the paper doesn't move as I'm ripping. You just rip the paper a little bit, take a photo, and you just repeat this until you're done. You can preview and edit right inside of the app and then export as PNG images. I ended up with a total of 16 images. I imported all of the images into Adobe Lightroom Classic. I converted them to black and white and then exported so I could import them into Photoshop. I set up a new document in Photoshop, 1920 by 1080 pixels, and then I imported all of the images from Lightroom using the script load files into Stack. In Photoshop, you're going to remove the paper from the background. My favorite way to do this is select the layer, then go to the Object Selection tool. You just hover your cursor until you see the pink lines. Just click, you'll get a selection, then you're just going to press Command or Control J and just delete the layer below it. So now the paper is left on a transparent background. Once you have removed the background from all of the paper layers, you're going to export from Photoshop by going to the File menu, Export, and choose Layers to Files. Give it a prefix name. Choose the destination to where you want to save the files on your hard drive. For the file type, I'll choose PNG24. Make sure that the transparency box is checked, but uncheck Trim Layers. By unchecking Trim Layers, every file is going to be the same size as your Photoshop document. Then just click Run to export the files. Now that we have all the PNG images from Photoshop, we're going to import these as a PNG sequence into Adobe After Effects. To import into After Effects, I'll go to the File menu at the top, Import File. I'm going to select the first image, hold the Shift key, and click on the last so they're all selected. I'll check Create Composition, uncheck Multiple Sequences, click Open. Single composition is checked. For still duration, how long do you want each image to last on the timeline? I'm just going to put 2 so they last for 2 frames, and I'll make sure that sequence layers is checked, then click OK. Now we've got a composition. You see they're all sequence, and if I tap the spacebar, there is our ripped paper tear animation. Pretty cool. I'll do some housekeeping in the project panel. I'll just select all the images, drag them onto the new folder icon, call it Paper Tear Images. Then I'll select the composition that was created and we'll call this Paper Tear Comp. Create a new composition by right-clicking New Composition. We'll call this Main. 1920 by 1080 pixels, 24 frames per second, 10 seconds in duration is fine. Background color does not matter. Click OK. I'll select the Paper Tear composition, drag it into our main comp, and I'll hold the Shift key so it snaps in the center. And if we look on the timeline, you'll see our paper tear composition ends at the 1 second mark. So to extend it and to be able to control the speed, I'm going to enable time remapping. So I'll just right click, go to time, enable time remapping. Now we can extend the layer. So I'll just drag it to the end of the timeline. But you'll notice when we get to that last keyframe, it goes blank. To fix this, make sure your CTI is directly over that last keyframe and go back 1 frame. I'll press Command or Control and the left arrow to move the CTI back 1 frame, and now we need to add a keyframe. So I'll click the diamond to add a keyframe, so now you should have a total of 3 keyframes. Go to that last keyframe, select it, and delete it. The blank frame problem is fixed, But to loop the animation, we're going to Option or Alt-click on the Time Remap property and type out the loopOut expression. Lowercase l-o-o-p, capital O-u-t, open and close parentheses. And since we're using the default cycle loopOut expression, we don't have to put anything in between the parentheses. Click outside, tap the spacebar. Now it's going to loop forever and ever. To slow down the animation, just move the keyframes further apart from each other. And to speed things up, move the keyframes closer together. To make it easy and flexible to be able to swap out images or graphics or logos that you want to use, I created a new composition. I just called it Placeholder, and I made it square 1080 by 1080 pixels. I just added graphics or things that I want to use with the transition. I'll drag that placeholder comp into our main comp. I'll just hold the Shift key so it snaps in the center. You can just double click on the placeholder comp and just select the layer that you want to toggle on. Go back to your main comp and it's going to update automatically. So whenever you want to swap out whatever it is that you want to use, you just go back into that placeholder composition and toggle on and off the visibility. When you go back to your main comp, it updates automatically. I'm also going to add in the background layer that I've already prepared in advance. I'll drag the placeholder comp below our paper tear comp. And if I move the CTI forward, you can see what's happening here. And now make sure that you see the track matte column. If you don't, just right-click on the header, go to Columns, and check Modes. I'll select the placeholder comp or select whatever layer that you have the graphics on. Go to the track matte column and select your paper tear composition. That's going to automatically hide the visibility of our paper tear. But you can see when I move the CTI forward, we're going to get that paper tear effect. Want to swap it out with another graphic? Just double click on your placeholder composition. I'll toggle off the visibility of the logo, and I'll toggle on this flower image here with a frame. Go back to my main comp, drag the CTI back, tap the spacebar. Easy as that. If you swap out placeholder images or graphics that are different sizes, you might find that it gets cut off on the edges or maybe it's just not fitting correctly. Well, you just go to your paper tear composition. You can always toggle on and toggle off just to see where it's located on your composition. And you can play around with the position, rotation, or scale. So if I just select it and tap S for scale and just increase the scale a little bit, it's going to bring back those edges. Currently, the paper tear transition is just going up and down. But maybe you want it to go from side to side. I'll toggle on the visibility of the paper tear comp so it's easier to see. I'll just tap R for rotation and I'll enter a value of 90. Now you can see it's going from side to side, but it does look like it went down a little bit lower. So if I toggle off the visibility to reveal the image, you can see it is cutting off the top. So we can move the position or just increase the scale. So I'll tap S for scale, increase it, until it reveals the entire image. If you want to go back and forth, we can select the paper tear comp, tap U to reveal our keyframes. I'll select them by clicking on the Time Remap property, press Command or Control C to copy, move the CTI forward in time a little bit. I'll paste them, Command or Control V. Now I'll right click, go to Keyframe Assistant, Time Reverse Keyframes. So now it's going to go on, left to right, hold for a little bit, and then go in the reverse direction. For some finishing touches, on the placeholder composition, I added a drop shadow by going to Layer, Layer Styles, Drop Shadow. I also went to the Effects and Presets panel, did a search for the hand-drawn effect, and dragged it right onto the placeholder composition. That's going to give it some wiggle and some roughened edges. Anytime I want to replace the graphic but still maintain all those effects, I can just double-click on the placeholder comp, just add a new graphic or toggle on one that I've already added, go back to our main, you'll see it updates automatically. Easy as that. And that is how to create your own handmade stop-motion paper unfold transition in Adobe After Effects CC 2025. My name is Mike Murphy. Cheers.